Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita. The tip of the tongue taking a trip of these 3 steps, trip of 3 steps actually, down the palate to tap, at 3 on teeth, Lolita. She was low, flame low in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in 1 sock. She was low in slacks. She was Dolly at my school. She was Dolores on the dotted line, but in my arms she was always Lolita. Wow, well spoken Humbert was. Dear Humbert, in Vladimir Vladimirovich Nabokov's Lolita. And yeah, guys and gals, this book right here can basically be described as a man's obsession towards the nymphets, as he calls them, little girls between the ages of 9 and 14 and never above or lower than 9 and 14, and of course a man's anguish and love for a particular nymphet, that being Dolores Hayes, otherwise known as his precious and beloved fairy princess Lolita, a love at first sight, as dear Vladimir Vladimorivich Nabokov described, love at first sight, at last sight, at ever and ever sight. This love is truly the beginning and the end of Dear Humbert, was the beginning and the end of Dear Humbert. But my god, guys and gals, Humbert is quite a man of words who knows how to write and knows how to speak so eloquently, because Humbert is an intelligent man who is once again a man with words, and a man who is so knowledgeable and well versed in terms of languages which he spoke, including Francais, French, which I love so much. Oui, mademoiselle et monsieur, I do, guys and gals, I really do. And Humbert, despite the fact that he had mental illness and a serious obsession with the nymphets, in particular his darling Lo, Humbert was a tragic man, a fictional but tragic man regardless. And this book is so beautiful and so well written by Vladimir Vladimorivich Nabokov, and yours truly could not be more proud to review it for you guys and gals, as requested by the awesome Pink Tilly. And so to you, Pink Tilly, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so very much. But now, guys and gals, let me begin this official review of this brilliantly written novel, Lolita. This book was so good and so fascinating as hell, and yours truly has read it twice now, and the second time was so refreshing, especially before reviewing it for you guys and gals. So well written, so fascinating, and so heartbreaking as well, but also quite funny, especially in regards to Humbert's point of view and his relationship with Dolores Hayes, Lolita. And Humbert, he has a very high opinion about himself and looks down on others, especially the cow, the Hayes woman, as he calls her, among the many insults and degrading names he has given to Dolores Hayes' mother, Ms. Hayes. What the fuck, guys and gals? This man clearly hates her so much, the Hayes woman. He really did, but you can see kind of why he married her. It's because of one reason, and that reason is this young lady right here, Dolores Hayes herself. Ms. Hayes was so stupid to have married him, Humbert, and not saw through his charm and mannerisms, attractive mannerisms, but that's her fault and no one else's. But hey, guys and gals, it was the 50s or 60s, so what can you do? But this book, regardless, was so good, so well written, and to this day, so revolutionary, especially back then, back when this book was first published. It was so good then, as it is now. Humbert and Dolores Hayes, aka Lolita, were in complete and utter anguish because of very different reasons, but they were in anguish distinguish regardless, attempting to live a life of normality and meeting society's expectations of you can be quite suffocating as it was for them. Dolores Hayes, aka Lolita, and Humbert Humbert. Humbert Humbert had described Lolita in such an eloquent and very beautiful manner as yours truly had read in the first chapter of this book, the opening monologue of this book, the first chapter of Lolita, and this man clearly loves her, his darling fairy princess as he viewed her, a saint of a young girl who also had her devilish side and was an angel in his eyes. But Humbert Humbert, he failed to see until the very end how Dolores Hayes truly hated him. His precious and darling Lolita hated him so much and wanted to be rid of him, but sadly Humbert Humbert was so blind and so naive, or he was in denial to accept that, and that he was the only man for Dolores Hayes, his precious and darling and beloved Lolita. Humbert Humbert, man, so many people, including the narrator of this book, at least the beginning of this book, a narrator who essentially is a third person in this narrative. This narrator is basically some dude who published the memoir of Humbert Humbert himself, and this man was clearly disgusted by his actions and what he had done and who Humbert Humbert was in his mind, his bias yet understandable to some extent mind. He viewed Humbert as some kind of monster, an inhumane and horrible monster, but also described how this man was so brilliant and had a way with words as yours truly described. This book is narrated through a third person point of view from both Humbert and this narrator. I love him so much, but man, guys and gals, look at this shit right here. I believe this guy's name is John Ray Jr., PhD. I'm sure, guys and gals, but that's basically him. If you could see his name, John Ray Jr., PhD. You don't need a PhD to see through his actions, basically the actions of Humbert Humbert. But Humbert Humbert was once again a tragic man, a misunderstood and tragic man who back then was living in a time in which he was expected to live by the standards of society which they forced upon him. And Lolita, Dolores Hayes, it was so unfair and so suffocating as fuck, but what could they do? All they could do was adapt or simply rebel against it, said norm and expectations of society. That's exactly what I'm doing, what I've always been doing, and I love that shit so much, being a rebel at heart, in the same vein as the classic film with James Dean from the 1950s, which is quite appropriate considering this book is set during the 50s society, man. It was so toxic and so unacceptable, especially by today's standard. It was basically torture, especially for Humbert Humbert and Dolores Hayes, aka Lolita, but their bond and relationship at times is quite funny, but also sad and very intriguing to watch, especially from Humbert Humbert's point of view, how he views Lolita as some kind of angel to be worshipped and how she belongs to him, no one else. And no matter how old Humbert Humbert gets, he always has this high opinion about himself, even though Humbert Humbert is described as a very handsome, well-dressed and sophisticated man, which in that regard I can respect, because as a man who does love maturity and sophistication in my lead protagonist who happen to be men, I love that so much about them, intelligent and mature men, even though Humbert Humbert is quite a mentally ill man, who never sought help, which is sad, guys and gals, so fucking sad. But it can be his fault, or it could be the fault of society, considering back then, even now to an extent, mental illness is not taken as seriously, not everywhere at least. But Humbert Humbert, yours truly, cannot help but feel bad for him. Nothing excuses what he did, and Lolita, by the way, is no saint, but regardless, I still feel bad for him a lot more than I did Lolita. Dolores Hayes, it's so confusing as hell, but if you read this book, your experience reading it and your thought process on their relationship is bound to be different from mine, or somewhere along the line, basically you are in sync with my thoughts, or your thoughts could be different from mine and others, which is the beauty of reading, especially in regards to tales like this, the tale of Humbert and his darling and beloved fairy princess Dolores Hayes, Lo, Dolly, and of course Lolita. The many names he has given her, his beloved Lo, is quite amusing and so beautiful if it wasn't so tragic as fuck, and to some so inappropriate and so obscene, but oh well, guys and gals, preferences, you know. Humbert is someone who I found to be fascinating. I do, guys and gals, I really do, especially when Claire Quilty is introduced in the tale, and how Claire Quilty, his actions affects both Humbert and Dolores Hayes, aka Lolita. How exactly that is for you guys and gals to find out for yourselves when you read this book right here, Vladimir Vladimorivich Nabokov's Lolita. It is so beautiful and so brilliantly written by dear Nabokov himself, and I do recommend you guys and gals read it, please do. And by the way, guys and gals, Claire Quilty is basically mentioned, and his appearance comes in clues, small hidden clues, in which we have to decipher and figure out who he is, this enigmatic figure. And the novel's main antagonist or villain is what Claire Quilty functions as. Claire Quilty is such a corrupt individual, a lot more than Humbert, believe it or not. But regardless, I do recommend you guys and gals read this book, Lolita, Vladimir Vladimorivich Nabokov's Lolita. Please do. And thank you once again, Pink Tilly. Merci beaucoup. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please like, comment, subscribe if you wish, and do check out my gaming channel where I do Let's Play series, gaming content, and so much more. Until next time, peace out, take care, adios amigos, au revoir, and sayonara.